Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and the Tolkien Society has repeatedly demonstrated that they no longer care about the professor or his world, his books, his universe in any way, shape, or form. All they care about is feeding at the teat of Amazon Prime and getting everything out of that relationship that they possibly can, including selling out their own fan base and the man that made their society possible. The Tolkien Society is to feature a paper titled J.R.R. Tolkien, Culture Warrior, the alt-right religious crusades appropriation of Tolkien. Now, of course, the first thing that I have to point out here is their definition of alt-right, and really the definition of alt-right in general, has been severely warped of late. The true definition of it is of a mostly bad thing, of extremist far-right people who do incredibly heinous things. But that is not the definition that is used these days. It is the definition that is applied to anyone who's even remotely traditional, anyone who's remotely Republican, anyone who is against wokeness, anyone who wants traditional families, anyone who's religious or Christian, really in any way, shape, or form. So they changed the definition, but didn't change the implications of the far-right actual crazy people who are way, way out there. And that's a really disingenuous approach. So to start with, whenever I'm talking about alt-right, I'm going to be talking about the real definition, and I'm going to be making the distinction as much as possible that their definition is so far off that it's just laughable to say. And Tolkien, he was alt-right in the way that they believe alt-right is today. He was incredibly traditional. He was against the Industrial Revolution. He was a man out of his time, but not in the direction that the Tolkien Society and people like them seem to believe these days. He wished he had lived 100 to 200 years before he actually lived. He was very much Victorian, against new technologies, against new everything. That's why Sauron and the orcs were like building machines and tearing down the forest, and that he saw as a very bad thing. That was industrialization, and he was against that. That's why the hobbits and the Shire were the perfect place in Middle-earth, because they were the least like that. They were the least industrial of all the races in Middle-earth, of all the places in Middle-earth. So already they're coming at it from a very disingenuous perspective, not understanding what he's actually trying to say and changing the definitions to make things crazier. And of course, they believe that anyone who's Christian is all right. So why is Tolkien not all right? Because he very clearly is Christian, as he's demonstrated so many times. And I just don't understand why the Tolkien Society keeps hammering. Oh wait, it's because Prime probably asked them to, and they're just like, please, sir, can I have some more? Go full Oliver Twist for the scraps of Amazon Prime. And it's really getting pathetic. And I didn't think it could get much worse than their whole thing a couple years back when they had all those diversity inclusion panels that they wouldn't let the public see, like Gondor and Transition, about how Gondor was secretly a metaphor for transgenderism, and just some ridiculous panels like that that don't make any goddamn lick of sense. So the Tolkien Society is no longer reliable as a source for Tolkien, is no longer a safe haven for fans of the Tolkien universe. It is nothing worth being involved in anymore, or really worth listening to anymore, because they're not honest anymore. And without honesty, credibility falls apart, and you're just not someone to be trusted and should be someone who is ignored. But just to prove real fast that Tolkien was indeed a Christian, which they seem to ignore a lot of the time these days, Founded in Comics has this great quote here from the man himself, from Tolkien himself. The Lord of the Rings is, of course, a fundamentally religious and Catholic work, unconsciously so at first. So, of course, he wanted to do it as an allegory. He didn't really want to have it over the top and pound it, and that's the difference between woke people and talented writers like Tolkien. It's immersed in the world. It's subtle, and it's not just like, you will be Christian or you bad. You will be Christian or you will be bad. That's kind of how the woke approach things these days, and that's not how Tolkien approached it. So as someone who's not Christian or Catholic or really overly religious myself, I don't have a problem with this, even though I disagree with it, because it's done so well and integrated so well and created one of the greatest stories of all time. Founding in Comics also includes several other things that says, actually, I am a Christian and indeed a Roman Catholic. All right, according to the Tolkien Society and the modern left's definition of alt-right, Tolkien is alt-right. So how can there be a alt-right religious crusade appropriation of Tolkien if that's what Tolkien always was, using their definition, not the real definition? How could it be appropriation if that's what it always was by their definition? See, that would contradict their opinion, and if they really believe that Tolkien was alt-right, like they've inadvertently proved, then they couldn't be fans of him anymore. They couldn't be a part of this universe anymore. So they have to grovel. They have to cope as best as they can because it destroys their whole narrative to look at the truth. And I hope they get a lot from Amazon Prime. I hope this is worth it for them. But the Tolkien Society is not the great place that it once was. It's not the incredible place for fans to come together and share their love of Tolkien and his universe. I am not looking forward to Rings of Power, and this seems to be another piece of horrific marketing for Rings of Power. I'm really sick of seeing what the Tolkien Society and Amazon Prime are doing to Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's reputation. And hopefully the fans will continue to fight against it as they currently are and stand up to these heinous things that are being said about Tolkien and his fans. But we'll have to see how it all turns out when Rings of Power actually airs in just a few months' time. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.